The moment you stop chasing, something disturbing happens. The person who ignored your presence suddenly begins to feel your absence. And what they do next will reveal whether they ever valued you or only valued the control they had over your attention. Because when you finally pull your energy back, you are no longer begging to be chosen. You become a mirror. And some people cannot tolerate seeing that you survived without their approval. So watch closely. Their next move will expose their hidden wound, their pride, their fear, and their true intention. Before we go deeper, ask yourself this honestly. When you stopped chasing, did they come back with love, or did they come back because they lost control? Stay with this, because the difference will save you from repeating the same wound. When you stop chasing, you do something far more powerful than sending a message or making a dramatic announcement. You break the invisible pattern that kept both of you trapped. For a long time, they may have grown used to your energy being available whenever they wanted it. They expected you to explain yourself again, forgive again, reach out again, wait again, and soften again. Even if they did not openly admit it, they began to depend on the idea that you would always return to the same place, carrying the same hope, asking for the same love. This is why your silence hits differently. It does not hit the heart first, it hits the pattern. The old rhythm suddenly stops. The emotional supply they once received from your attention is no longer arriving. Your name is not appearing on their screen. Your questions are not pulling them into conversation. Your care is not rushing forward to repair what they refuse to respect. And now, for the first time, they are forced to feel the space your presence used to fill. At first, they may act like nothing has changed. That is pride speaking. But beneath that pride, the unconscious begins to notice something is missing. The person who once chased is no longer chasing. The person who once reacted is no longer reacting. The person who once tried to prove their worth has stepped back into silence. And silence, when it comes from self-respect, carries a strange authority. You must understand this clearly. Your silence is not punishment. It is not a game. It is the moment you stop negotiating your dignity with someone who kept taking your effort for granted. You are not trying to make them suffer. You are simply refusing to abandon yourself again. And that is what disturbs them. Not because you became cruel, but because you became unavailable to the old pattern. The version of you they could predict, delay, confuse, and keep waiting has disappeared. Now they must meet a new version of you, quieter, firmer, harder to reach, and no longer desperate to be chosen. At first, they will pretend they did not notice your silence. They may continue as if nothing has changed, as if your absence has created no movement inside them. They may post more, laugh louder, appear busier, or surround themselves with distractions. To the outside world, it may look like they are completely unaffected. But do not be fooled too quickly. Some people are not calm because they are healed. They are calm because their pride has not yet allowed them to admit they are disturbed. When a person has become used to being chased, your withdrawal threatens the image they have built of themselves. They may have quietly believed they had a permanent place in your heart, no matter how little they gave in return. They may have assumed your care would always be waiting at the door, ready to open the moment they knocked. So when you stop showing up in the same way, their ego does not immediately say, "I miss them." It says, "They will come back." That false confidence is often the first defense. This is why their first reaction may not be pursuit, it may be performance. They want to appear untouched because admitting your absence matters would mean admitting you had emotional power. And for someone ruled by pride, that feels like weakness. So they hide behind silence, social media, coldness, or exaggerated independence. They want you to believe they are fine so that you question your own strength and return to the old role. But the mask cannot stay firm forever. The mind begins to search for the missing pattern. Why have you not called? Why have you not checked? Why are you no longer reacting? Why does your silence feel heavier than your words ever did? Slowly, the performance becomes harder to maintain. Your job is not to decode every move they make. That is how you get pulled back into the same emotional trap. Your job is to observe without chasing. Let their actions speak. If their pride is louder than their honesty, believe the pride. If they choose performance over accountability, believe the performance. Because someone who truly values you will eventually step beyond the mask and meet you with truth, not theater. When they realize you are no longer chasing, curiosity begins to turn into anxiety. At first, they may wonder casually. They may ask themselves why you became quiet, why your energy changed, why you are no longer trying to fix the connection. But soon, that question becomes heavier. Your absence starts creating a mirror they cannot easily escape. The person they thought would always reach out has stopped reaching. The person they thought would always wait has stopped waiting. This is where their inner control begins to shake. They may not immediately miss you in the purest sense. Be careful here. Sometimes what people call missing you is actually missing the access they had to you. They miss knowing that you were emotionally available. They miss the comfort of being wanted without having to give much in return. They miss the power of delaying you while still keeping you close. And when that access disappears, anxiety enters. They may begin checking your activity, watching your stories, asking mutual friends about you, or creating small excuses to appear in your space. They may wonder if someone else has your attention now. They may wonder if you finally saw them clearly. They may wonder if the door they kept half open has quietly closed. But do not mistake their anxiety for transformation. Anxiety can make a person reach out, but it does not always make them accountable. Fear of losing you is not the same as the maturity to love you properly. Many people return not because they are ready to change, but because your silence injured the part of them that believed you would always be available. This is why you must stay grounded. Do not become excited by every sign of curiosity. A view, a like, a random message, a sudden appearance, these are not proof of love. They are signals, nothing more. Watch what follows. Do they bring honesty? Do they bring responsibility? Do they bring clarity? Or do they only bring enough attention to pull you back into waiting? Your absence has awakened something in them, yes, but what awakens first may not be love. It may be fear, possession, pride, or control. The truth will not be found in how quickly they notice you are gone. It will be found in what they do when they realize they no longer own your attention. They may return, but not fully. They may knock on the door without truly entering. This is one of the most important signs to understand when you stop chasing. A person who has grown used to your attention may not come back with a clear apology, a sincere confession, or a changed heart. Instead, they may send a small signal, a simple, "Hey," a reaction to your story, a random question they could have asked anyone, a memory from the past, a joke, a soft excuse. Something light enough to deny, but strong enough to test whether you are still emotionally available. This is not always love. Sometimes it is a temperature check. They want to know if the old door still opens when they touch it. They want to see if the version of you who used to over-explain, over-give, and over-forgive is still waiting behind your silence. They do not want to risk vulnerability, so they send a small message and watch your response. If you rush back with warmth, they learn that nothing has truly changed. If you ask deep questions too quickly, they know you are still hungry for closure. If you become emotional, they know the bond still controls you. That is why you must not confuse contact with commitment. A message is not a transformation. A reaction is not accountability. A casual return is not proof that they finally understand your worth. Some people do not come back to repair what they broke. They come back to check whether what they broke still belongs to them. Your strength is in how calmly you respond. You do not need to punish them. You do not need to act cold. You do not need to perform detachment. You simply remain centered. If they come with vague energy, do not reward it with deep emotional access. If they come with half words, do not hand them your whole heart. Let the door remain visible, but not wide open. Let them show whether they came to enter honestly or only to see if they still had a key. Some people do not know how to approach your peace, so they try to disturb it. When they notice that you are no longer chasing, they may not come forward with honesty. Instead, they may try to provoke the old version of you, the version that reacted quickly, the version that asked questions in pain, the version that begged for clarity, the version that could not sleep because their silence felt like a punishment. They remember that version, and if they are not mature enough to meet your growth, they will try to pull you back into what they know. This can appear in subtle ways. They may suddenly act colder than before. They may post something designed to make you jealous. They may mention another person. They may disappear again after giving you a small sign of interest. They may speak in a way that makes you feel confused, guilty, or responsible for the distance. It may not always be loud manipulation. Sometimes it is a quiet emotional hook, placed carefully where your old wound used to bleed. But here is the hard truth. If they can trigger you, they can measure you. Your reaction tells them whether they still have access to your nervous system. If one cold message can destroy your peace, they know the bond is still controlling you. If one vague post can pull you back into overthinking, they know your healing is still depending on their behavior. This is not said to shame you. It is said to wake you up. Your task is not to prove that you do not care. That is another performance. Your task is to become stable enough that their games no longer decide your inner weather. You can feel something without obeying it. You can notice the trigger without feeding it. You can miss someone without chasing them. That is where real power begins. When they try to awaken your old self, do not answer from the wound. Pause. Watch. Let the first wave pass. Because the moment you refuse to become the old version of yourself, the entire game begins to collapse. Their next action will tell you more than their sweetest words ever could. When you stop chasing, you create a moment of truth. The connection is no longer being held together by your effort alone. Your energy is no longer covering their inconsistency. Your hope is no longer filling the empty spaces they refuse to enter. Now the weight shifts. Now they must show who they really are when they no longer have unlimited access to you. This is where you must become very honest with yourself. Do not judge their return by how emotional it feels. Judge it by what it contains. Do they come back with clarity, responsibility, and respect? Do they acknowledge what happened without twisting it back onto you? Do they show a real desire to understand your pain? Do they change their behavior after speaking, or do they only offer words that temporarily calm your heart? Many people return when they feel your absence, but not everyone returns with growth. Some come back with nostalgia, some come back with guilt, some come back because their ego cannot tolerate being forgotten. Some come back because they miss the comfort of your attention, not because they are ready to honor your heart. This is why you must not be hypnotized by the fact that they returned. A return is not proof of love. A return is only an entrance. What they carry through that entrance is what matters. If they come with vague messages, mixed signals, blame, emotional crumbs, or half apologies, then they are not repairing the bond. They are reopening the wound. If they expect you to forget everything just because they appeared again, then they have not understood the depth of what they caused. If they avoid accountability and only want access, then their intention is not love, it is comfort. But if they come with humility, patience, honesty, and changed behavior, then you may observe carefully. Not rush, not surrender too quickly, observe. Because real transformation does not demand instant trust. It earns it slowly. Their next action is the mirror. It will reveal whether they came to heal what was broken or simply to see if the door they neglected still opens. The real power is not in making them return. That is the trap many people fall into. They stop chasing, but secretly they keep watching the door, hoping the silence will become a weapon strong enough to pull the other person back. But if your detachment is only a strategy to make someone miss you, then you are still emotionally tied to their reaction. You are still waiting for them to confirm your value. You are still placing your peace in the hands of the same person who disturbed it. True detachment begins when you stop asking, "Will they come back?" and start asking, "Why did I accept so little for so long?" That question changes everything. It turns your attention away from their behavior and brings it back to your own soul. You begin to see that the deeper wound was not only that they neglected you, confused you, or took you for granted. The deeper wound was that you kept abandoning yourself to keep the bond alive. When you finally choose your dignity, something inside you stands up. You no longer measure your worth by their message, their apology, their regret, or their silence. If they return, you do not collapse into hope. If they disappear, you do not collapse into despair. You remain rooted. You understand that someone's return means nothing if they bring the same patterns, the same avoidance, the same emotional crumbs, and the same refusal to grow. This is where your transformation becomes real. You stop treating love like a chase. You stop confusing anxiety with passion. You stop mistaking inconsistency for mystery. You stop romanticizing people who only become interested when they feel you slipping away. That is not love. That is possession reacting to loss. The greatest victory is not that they finally notice you. The greatest victory is that you finally notice yourself, your needs, your limits, your exhaustion, your quiet strength. Whether they come back or not, you are no longer begging to be chosen by someone who made you feel optional. You have crossed the inner threshold where self-respect becomes louder than attachment. And once that happens, the old version of you cannot be easily summoned again. In the end, when you stop chasing, you do not only change the relationship, you change the entire balance of power within yourself. The person who once felt certain of your attention now feels the silence of your absence. They may pretend not to notice, they may grow curious, they may test the door with small messages. They may try to provoke the old version of you, or they may finally face the truth of what they lost when you stopped carrying the connection alone. But their reaction is not the center of the story. Your awakening is. Because the deepest transformation begins when you stop asking why they did not choose you and start asking why you kept choosing someone who made you feel uncertain. You begin to understand that love should not require you to shrink, beg, chase, or repeatedly prove your worth. The soul grows tired when it is forced to survive on emotional crumbs. So let their next move reveal them. Let their silence speak. Let their return prove itself. Do not run toward every signal. Do not mistake curiosity for love, guilt for growth, or attention for accountability. A person who truly values you will not only come back, they will come back differently. They will bring honesty, patience, responsibility, and respect. And if they do not, then their absence becomes your answer. You are not here to be an option someone returns to when they feel lonely. You are not here to be a mirror for someone who refuses to face themselves. You are not here to keep reopening a door that only leads back to the same wound. The moment you stopped chasing, you began returning to yourself. And that is the victory they cannot take from you. Because once you learn to stand in your own dignity, the old version of you, the one who begged, waited, and broke quietly, can no longer be summoned by anyone's half love.